Yourself, where you're from?
Andrew Lamenciano. I was born in 1967, grew up in a little town called Alberton on Long Island. Kid growing up in the 70s and 80s. I had the same core group of friends, 4 or 5 of us, right? We'd go to the luncheonette and play pinball or hang out on the railroad tracks or bike riding and playing baseball and dodgeball, kickball, you know, you have it. And funny enough, when the lights would come on at night, it was time to go home, you know. So if you didn't get home by the time those lights came on, my father was there to let me have it. So it was, I had a good childhood, I really did. Family picnics every year with probably about 100 of us, which was always a great memory for me to have. My grandfather was born down south, so my summers were spent at times working on farms and irrigating crops, and always something to do. Always a really busy time for me. And you know, and come to think of it, it's probably why I stayed so busy for the rest of my life. You know, I'm never complacent with not always learning new things and doing new things. When I hit about 15 years old and still with my core group of friends, we kind of went from Little League to joining the junior fire department through an explorer troop with the Boy Scouts. And my dad had become a firefighter. My older brother, had become a firefighter. Yeah, so I was just kind of following suit. And then my best friend, who's my best friend for 55 years, got him to get in there. And some of the other guys from the Little League were getting in there with their parents, who were also firefighters. So it was just something that the community, you did as a community. You know, it was great. And I'm still a firefighter today, active. You know, it's something that is always really true to my heart. And you know, serving people for me is something I have to do. It wasn't always rosy, right? My parents got a divorce when I was about in the 7th grade. It kind of came out of nowhere because we didn't see our parents fighting or anything, but middle school was tough for me. My teachers did not like me. Yeah, and then when I went to high school, I just had to find a way to kind of deal with my parents splitting. So I got involved in everything. I mean, I was in the theater and in sports and playing baseball and on the bowling team and marching band and jazz band. I played the trumpet, I played French horn. I was in the theater group, so I was in leading roles with a lot of shows in high school. And you know, it really kind of helped me be a little bit more of a well-rounded individual, I think. And I went with my best friend Danny. Went to go get a haircut with him. His uncle was a manager of the largest salon on the East Coast in the United States. 30,000 square feet, over 100 people working there. And it was kind of like, whoa. It was like, what's going on in here? You know, like there was an energy in there that kind of resonated with me right away. So I knew Danny's uncle. We grew up our whole life, so he was like my uncle. And he said, why don't you go cut some hair? You know, he's like, you'd be good at it. You know, you're good with people and you're smart. And I said, I don't think so. You know, but reluctantly I went to go look at a cosmetology school. I walked in and the only thing I saw were girls. And the ratio of girls to guys was 80 to 1, let's say. And I was the one. So I said, I'm going to school here. I don't even really care what this is all about. You know, I'm just going to go. Why not? And luckily enough, I really fell in love with the craft, and I fell in love with the atmosphere, and I fell in love with, again, servicing people and helping them feel good about themselves. I decided that it was time to go out on my own. And while I was working, I went back to college and finished college at night. So now I had a degree and I wanted to do something with it. So I opened up my own store. It was really a great experience for me to see what it was like to be an entrepreneur and to kind of control my own destiny. While I had my store towards the tail end of it, I guess the 7th year in, you know, I went back to school, went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts on Madison Avenue and 30th Street in Manhattan. Still had that acting bug in me, I guess. We graduated, and a group of us took a show off Broadway, produced it, had the starring role in it. Although we were like more of an ensemble, I didn't really look at me as like the lead guy. and it was successful. We had a ball with it, and I did some commercials, and then I just kind of fell off of that. I'm not exactly sure why, but I think maybe some of it had to do with, I guess at the time, 9/11 happened, and it was a tough time. At the time, I was making a transition. I was still kind of helping the new owners who had bought my salon. I sold it at that point, and I was working my way to work on Broadway as a stylist. One of my brother firemen called me up and said, "Dude, we gotta go." And I said, "Okay." And we grabbed our gear and drove in. I picked up somebody else on the way in. He was holding his gear, walking down West End Avenue. He jumped in my car. We parked outside Trinity Church and ran down to the South Tower. At this point, the towers were already down. And got on the longest bucket brigade I've ever seen and went up on that pile and dug for people. But I remember a lot that day and how many people came together to really try and do what needed to be done. I think it was just a turning point for me to really decide to make an impact with my life for others in whatever way I could. So I think it was about 2004, my show had closed, and a friend of mine said, "Dude, come work with me in my firm on Wall Street." And I was like, "Wall Street?" And I always read the Journal and always had an interest in it, and always didn't intensely research it, but always was abreast of what was going on with the markets. And so with the money that I had when I sold my salon, I bought a co-op in Queens, and I hunkered down and went to work as a broker. And the first day I went to work as a broker, that 9:30 bell rang, and that energy hit the room again. So I did that for a while, although something wasn't right for me with it from the start. I don't know if it was the sales aspect. I don't know if it was what we were taught to sell and how we were taught to sell. If you've seen the Wolf of Wall Street, then you know what my environment was like at the time. So I had an opportunity to work and do mortgage banking instead. I thought maybe that might be a little bit more concrete, but as we saw with the subprime division, and that's exactly what I was in the middle of with Countrywide, the company that was too big to fail, failed. Something still wasn't where I wanted it to be with that, and I decided after the whole subprime division and the market crashing in 2008, and seeing all the devastation with people's lives, not just their accounts, it was people's lives, it was their marriages, it was their friendships. It was a rough time for everyone, not just me. But at that time I said, you know what? 9/11 was a time where I wanted to do good, and it was now 11 years later, and I still didn't feel like I was there yet. So in 2012, on September 11th, coincidentally, I resigned from Wall Street completely. So I went more on the distribution side of things as opposed to promising people that I'm going to make them money in the market. So now it's more about what they have left and how we're going to protect that. And for me, it was a little bit more of a profound kind of a time in my life, because I knew that was going to lead me to a place that I could genuinely really help people out. So my mission now is really to help people solve the number one most challenging thing that they're ever going to face, which is their retirement. It's an equation that the best economists in the world can't solve, because we don't know how long people are going to live, right? We don't know how long their money is going to last, if it's going to last, what it's exposed to. And, I try and find a way to make sure that their lifetime's worth of work and savings is protected going forward, so they can really enjoy themselves and have a standard of living that they've dreamed about their entire lives. Yeah. So with the group of professionals, the financial professionals that I was involved with, I heard of a documentary that was going to be filmed called The Baby Boomer Dilemma that dealt with people's retirement. And because I knew this was where my focus was going to be, and I understood the medium, and I understood television because of all the celebrities that I've worked with and the impact that they have on all of these people. So I knew at that point that I wanted all in, and I wanted to be a part of a project that was going to now be something that was going to fall on a national scale, and that was going to really impact and open up the eyes of people in a different way that they've never seen before. So because of my mission of trying to help as many people as I can, I decided to become an executive producer of what is now The Baby Boomer Dilemma, which is the name of the documentary. And it's dynamite. It's something that I'm really proud of being a part of. The people that are in this film are the most influential people that you'll ever want to listen to when it comes to your retirement. For me, this is a little bit more validated because even just with my last person that I helped, she was going through a tough time. Her husband just had a stroke. She wanted to retire. She's been working for 30 years. And, I had to get in there. I had to help her out. I had to kind of, not save her in a way, but I had to try and just direct her to kind of say everything's going to be okay. And, thankfully her husband is doing much better. And they're starting to live a little bit more of a normal life, I guess, if you will. But it will never be the same for her. But at least they know that they can retire and not have to worry about paying their bills, and not have to worry about if they want to go out and eat, they can go out to eat, and not have to worry about if they want to go on vacation with other friends, they can go now because of the mechanisms that I've put in place for her. So having the opportunity to help somebody like that means a lot to me, and it's why I do what I do. It's why I get up every morning, and it's why it's how and why I want to live my life today. Because it just makes me feel good.